All right. Well, we're live.
Scoot it back.
Yeah, at least get in order and switched around. Well, it might work that way. Okay. All right. Good. Great. We're gonna start in Shavasana, lying down on our backs as per usual. We're doing a holiday slow flow stretch post festivities. And I've got two beautiful models here with me showing their versions of all the poses. And yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about more yoga afterwards. Yes, there are 3 cats involved in the yoga. 3 cat yoga. All right. So get on your mats or your space and lay down on your back. Start to get comfortable here. Relaxing into your body. If you're like me and do a little bit of overindulgence, you might feel a little disconnected to your body right now. So we'll start with a simple body scan to get ourselves tuned back in. We'll start from the toes. Notice the tips of your toes. If you're barefoot, can you feel a breeze on them? Tuning in through your feet. Noticing how your ankles are doing. How your calves and shins are feeling. Notice your knees, your thighs, into your hips. And if there's any discomfort, just notice it. Don't judge it. Notice through your belly and your abdomen, up into your chest, through your neck, and all the way up into your head, your face, your eyes. And then down through the shoulders, through your arms and elbows. Notice how your wrists and your hands are doing. Just notice the position of your hands. The natural way that our hands fall, a little bit curled in at the fingers or stretched out, depending on how your hands are. And today, as always, listen to your body, and if you feel any pain, stop what you're doing and do what's right for you. The goal of this practice is to reconnect to your body and to stretch, ease into a little bit of stretching, reconnecting to our bodies. As we have connected with family and friends for the holidays, sometimes we forget about the connection to ourselves. So holding that in your mind, seeing if you can connect with yourself the way you would an old friend. And with that, keeping the eyes closed, but rolling the wrists and the ankles, bringing a little bit of movement to your body. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and hug your knees into your chest. Maybe rocking side to side. Feeling your back. Maybe doing some knee circles on the ceiling. One direction and then the other. Give yourself a nice big hug and hold here. Hugging your knees in. Take a nice big breath here, big belly breath in. You can open your mouth and squeeze your knees into your chest to squeeze out your breath. We'll do that one more time. Breathing in fully, relaxing the knees away from the body. And then squeezing the knees in as you squeeze the breath out. Then go ahead and let your left leg go long along the mat, releasing it to the ground out in front of you. And go ahead and engage through that leg, maybe flexing the toes to the ceiling. Hugging that right knee into your chest and maybe over to your right armpit, into your shoulder. Breathing here. Keeping both legs engaged. And then start to reach your right heel to the sky, straightening out your right leg, sending your foot directly over the hip, any amount. Getting a nice hamstring stretch here. You can grab onto your thigh or your calf, just avoid the knee. Flexing that foot and engaging through the leg, have an active stretch here. Bent knees are always a good idea as we ease into the hamstrings. Maybe bringing your right hand to your right hip and press that right hip away from your torso. Trying to even out your hips, level them across the mat. And you can bring your hands back to your leg and just ease into the stretch for another moment. Big belly breath in here. And see if you can have a longer exhale than your inhale. Through the nose or mouth, whatever's comfortable for you. And one more time, big belly breath in. Ease it out. Longer exhales than inhales. Go ahead and bend that right knee. And then bring your left sole of your left foot up and plant it behind your hip, bending your left knee. Reaching your right foot across, crossing your right ankle over your left knee for a little figure 4 variation here. Engaging through the right leg, right ankle stacked over your left knee. Sole of left foot on the ground. You can stay here, pressing that right knee away from your body. Or if you want more, you can thread your hands around your left leg, behind the thigh, and start hugging your figure 4 into your chest. Nice stretch through the hip and the back. Breathing here. Nice big belly breath in. And then a longer exhale than your inhale. If you'd like to add a count to your breath, you can. Inhaling for 2. Exhaling for 4. And then we're going to come into a twist, bringing the right sole of the foot onto the ground, letting your whole figure 4 position of the legs fall over to the left. Planting the sole of the right foot on the ground and reaching your right arm out to the right, trying to keep both shoulders on the ground. Bring your arms to a T or cactus arms. Maybe letting that right knee fall in towards your chest or pressing it away, finding what feels right. Just breathing here. See if you can double the length of your exhale as your inhale. Inhale maybe for a count of 2. Exhale for a count of 4. One more big breath like this. And then release your right foot from the top of the left knee and stack your right knee on top of your left knee, still in this twisting position. And then go ahead and bring both knees into your chest, gently coming out of the twists, not to torque your back. And give yourself another hug, round up, whatever you want to do. Feels good for your back. And we'll set up for the other side. Releasing your right foot on the ground out in front of you, keeping it engaged as it lays out on your mat. And then hug that left knee into your chest and then over it to your left armpit. Notice how the stretch changes. And see what feels best for you. You can always move your knee back to your center of your chest or even out further to your left armpit. Breathing here for a moment. 2 count on the inhale. 4 count on the exhale. Let's start to straighten that left leg up to the sky, flexing through the left foot like you're going to stamp onto the ceiling. Grabbing hold of your thigh or your calf if you're flexible, keeping in that generous bend through the knee. Breathing here, a little hamstring stretch. Maybe bringing your left hand to your left hip and press that hip away from your torso. Trying to line up your hips together. Don't let it scrunch up. Then you can bring your hands back to your leg. Actively reaching that foot to the sky and then release a little bit of effort. Ease into it. Big belly breath in for a count of 2. 1. Exhale for a count of 4. 3, 2, 1. One more like this at your own count. Then go ahead and bend through both knees, planting the sole of the right foot on the ground behind your hip and crossing your left ankle across your right knee for that figure 4 position here. Engaging through your left leg, flexing through the left foot. Here for your figure 4. Stay here if this feels good, or start to hug this figure 4 position into your chest, interlacing your fingers behind your right thigh, maybe pressing that left knee away from your chest as you hug your right knee in. Breathing here. Slow, controlled exhales. As we gently stretch through our hips, notice if anything comes up in your mind. Got any worries or chores popping up, or if you're starting to ease into yourself and relaxing there. No judgment on any of your thoughts, just notice where your mind goes, and then see if you can tune in to what's happening now. And then start to ease into that twist, reaching the sole of the left foot across your body, letting both legs fall over to the right. Maybe stamping the left foot onto the ground, reaching your left arm out to the left, trying to keep both shoulders on the mat. You can cactus both arms. Maybe letting your knee fall into your body or pressing it away. Figuring out what feels best for your back or your hip. And easing into this twist here. Big belly breath in. Long exhale through the nose. Breathing here, maybe closing your eyes. One more big breath here. Go ahead and pick up the sole of your left foot and stack your left knee on top of your right knee, still in this twisted position. And then easing your knees back up through center. Giving them one more hug here, knees into chest. And start rocking along your spine. We're going to come up into a seated position, an easy cross-legged Sukhasana pose. Crossing at the shins or the ankles, whatever's comfortable for you. And sitting up tall here. Maybe bringing your hands to your knees or cross crossed at your lap, whatever feels good. Palms face up or down. And close your eyes here. And shift your torso forward and back and side to side. And see if you can feel your spine align with your eyes closed. And once you feel like your shoulders are stacked over your hips and your head is floating in line with the rest of your spine, stay here. Expanding through the front body, filling up on your inhales. Maybe open your mouth here and let it go. Expanding and filling up through our side bodies. Opening the mouth and let it go. Expanding, filling big breath in through the back body. Opening the mouth, letting it go. And then keeping your mouth closed. Slow breath in and out here. We're going to do some box breathing, steadying our inhales, matching the lengths of inhales, the holds, and the exhales. So we're going to inhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4, and hold out for a count of 4. And then start it all over again. So take one big breath in, release that breath, and we'll begin inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it at the top for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding it out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it out for 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it in at the top for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale slowly for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it out for 4, 3, 2, 1. And then take a big belly breath in and let it go. And reconnect to your breath here. Inhaling big belly in, breath in, and letting it go slowly. We're going to do some seated cat-cows here. You can open your eyes or keep them closed. Bring your hands palm face down on your knees to help bring your chest forward through your arms, maybe shifting forward in your seat, expanding on your inhale through the belly. And then as you exhale, push your knees away and round your back to the back of the room. Exhale, squeeze it all out. Inhaling, shifting forward, belly and chest through the arms. Exhale, squeezing it out, rounding back. Inhale, expanding through the chest, bringing it forward. And exhale, squeeze it out, round your back. One more time. Inhale, expanding through the chest. And exhale, rounding it back. And then coming back through center, sitting up long and tall here. Inhale, start to reach your arms up and overhead. And release the left hand down by your left hip. And start to reach that right hand up to the sky. And then start letting your torso lean over to the left for a nice lateral stretch here through the entire side body. Reaching your right arm up and over your head. Maybe walking those left fingertips out to the left if you've got more space. But keeping that right hip down, glued to the ground. Reaching your chest. Can you spin your chest up to the sky more? And breathing here. Big belly breath in, slow exhale. One more breath here. Inhaling and slow exhale. And then as you're ready, start to walk the left fingertips back in towards your hip. And bring both arms up overhead, come back through center. We'll go right into the other side, releasing your right hand down by your right hip on the ground. And start to reach that left hand up so much, and then start to reach it over to the right, leaning your torso over to the right as your arm reaches up overhead. Maybe walking those right fingertips out to the right if you've got more space to lean into it. But try to spin your torso and your chest up to the sky, expanding through the chest here, stretching through your left side. Breathing here. Big belly inhale and slow exhale. One more like that. Slow exhale. Let's start to walk those right fingertips, excuse me, back in towards your seat. And coming back up through center, arms overhead. One stretch, reach your hands up, maybe bring your palms together, reaching up as high as you can, maybe giving yourself a little bit of a back bend just through the upper back, keeping your lower back where it is, maybe reaching up through the chest. And then exhale, release your hands to your knees, coming back through center, and then rolling over those knees and coming into a tabletop or all fours position. Shifting back to get there. Hands and knees here, stacking your shoulders directly over your wrists, your hips over your knees. And then letting your head float in line with your spine. Finding that nice long spine from the tip of your head to the tip of your butt. We're going to flow through just 3 cat-cows. Just like seated, inhaling your chest through your arms, your belly down. And then exhale, rounding your back to the sky. Squeezing out that breath. Inhaling, chest forward, hips up, belly down for cow pose. And then exhale, round it out for cat. One last time. Inhaling through cow. And exhaling through cat. Coming back to stillness, finding a long spine here. And then start to tuck those right toes onto the mat. And then reach that right foot back away from your hip, keeping the toes on the ground, giving yourself a little calf stretch here. I'll just go sideways. No, you're good. You're good. No, you stay. And then maybe float that right foot level with your hip. Keeping those toes pointed down to the ground, hips level. Maybe if you want to reach that left arm out in front of you, in line with your ears for your bird dog position. Holding here for just a breath. If you'd like to bend your right knee and reach your left hand back to find that right foot, you can give yourself a little bit of a quad stretch here, or engaging through that right foot, flex it up for a little bit of a bow position, half bow, or staying in your bird dog. Wherever you are, take a big belly breath in, and let it go slowly. One more like that, inhaling and doubling the length of your exhale. Coming back through your bird dog position if you took a different pose, reaching your hand and leg long and away from each other. And then exhaling, releasing your hand and your knee back through center. Resetting here as we set up on the other side, tucking those left toes under. And maybe reaching that left foot back away from your hip, keeping the toes on the ground to give yourself a little calf stretch. Maybe inhaling to float the heel level with your hip. Engaging through that back leg, flexing those toes down to point to the ground. Maybe inhaling that right arm up and in line with your ear. Reaching the foot away from the hand in opposite directions. And breathing here. If you need more, maybe bending the left knee. Reaching that right hand back to catch your left foot or ankle. Giving yourself a little bit of a quad stretch. And if you'd like, press your foot and your hand into each other, pressing that left foot away from your hip for a little bit of a bow position here. Breathing, big belly breath in, slow exhale. One more breath here. And inhaling back through your bird dog position, releasing the hand and the foot. Reaching your hand away from your foot. One last breath in your bird dog position. And then release your hands and your knees back to your tabletop position. Maybe walking those knees out a little wider than hips width distance. Maybe bringing your toes closer together as you start to sit your hips back into child's pose. Reaching those arms forward, letting your chest reach down to the ground. Maybe start to externally rotate your upper arms in your shoulder sockets by bringing your elbow pits to the sky. Pressing into your hands so that your elbows lift up off the ground. And just notice if your hips are tight or if this feels good on your back. One more breath here in child's pose. And then start to tuck your toes, shifting your hips up and back to downward facing dog. Keeping your knees bent here in your first downward facing dog, pressing into the entire palm of your hand, taking the weight out of the wrist. Shifting your hips up and back, maybe coming up onto the tippy toes to shift your hips up as high as they can go, and then releasing your heels. Your heels never need to touch the mat. Working towards engagement through the legs more so than straightness through the legs. Finding a stretch that feels good for you. Maybe pedaling the feet or swaying your hips if you need a little bit of movement to ease into it. And then coming to stillness in your downward facing dog. Taking another breath here. And as you're ready, slowly start walking your feet to your hands, seeing if you can land your heel before your toes. And then staying forward in a folded position here, maybe walking your feet hips width distance, maybe bringing them closer together, whatever feels best for your balance. Keeping your knees bent here, see if you can bring your belly onto your thighs. Releasing the hands, releasing the head, maybe coming into ragdoll position, grabbing opposite elbows here, letting your torso help you fold forward. And then if your legs are feeling good and you want to start to straighten your legs, you can start straightening your legs here for more of a stretch. But try not to disconnect the belly from the thighs. Shake your head, yes. Shake it no. Release any tension through the neck. One more breath here. And then release your elbows. Bring your hands back down to the mat. And then on your next inhale, come up halfway. Bring your fingertips to your shins. Halfway lift here. Torso parallel to the ground. 90-degree angle at your hips. Breathing in here, reaching the top of your head away from your hips. And then exhale, fold. Release it down. On your next inhale, reach your arms out or forward and up, keeping a long spine like that half lift to come all the way up to standing, bending through the legs, arms up overhead. And then exhale, release your hand down by your sides. Bringing your hands to your hips. Maybe setting up your feet, bringing them a little bit closer or further apart for our Tadasana or mountain pose. Standing tall here, pressing into the feet, engaging through the legs, letting your hands fall by your sides, releasing the butt muscles, and engaging through the abdominals, bringing those hip bones closer to your low ribs, but expanding through the chest, bringing your sternum up to the sky. Breathing here, reach those hands down to the ground, engaged and strong in mountain pose. Inhaling, keeping the torso where it is. Just inhale your arms up overhead. And then exhale, bend your knees, hinge at your hips, and fold forward. Inhale for that half lift, fingertips to shins. Exhale, fold. Inhale with a long spine, arms out and up. Come all the way up through standing. Arms overhead. Then exhale, release your hands down by your side. Flow through that 2 more times. Inhaling, arms up overhead. Exhaling, hinging, folding forward. Inhaling, half lift, fingertips to shins. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, long spine, come all the way up through standing. Inhaling up, arms overhead. And exhale, release your hands down by your side. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, hinge at your hips, bend your knees, fold forward. Inhale, half lift. And exhale, fold. Inhale, come all the way up through standing, arms overhead. Exhale, release your hands down by your sides. Inhale all the way, hands up overhead. And exhale, hinge at your hips, fold forward. This time, as you inhale for that half lift, bringing your fingertips to your shins. And as you exhale, plant your hands onto the ground, bending your knees, and stepping your feet back to a plank position. Knees up or down. In planks as always, but let's all put our knees down and do the modified version together. Knees down, shift your weight forward, bend your elbows directly back, brushing your elbows against your ribs, holding there for half lift. Here's your version of chaturanga. And then let your belly fall all the way to the ground. Walking those hands back, maybe to make sure your fingertips are in line with your nipples. And as you exhale, draw your elbows back and away from your ears, elbows reaching down towards your hips. Inhaling, peel that chest up off the ground, pressing your feet and your hips into the ground, lifting the belly off the ground here for your low cobra. This is a great pose to ease into some back bending. It's also a great alternative to upward facing dog. So know this is always here for you. Breathing here, one more breath. Inhale, reaching that head away from your hips. And exhale, release it down to the ground. Shifting through an all fours position, reaching your hips up and then back. We're going to flow through a child's pose here before tucking the toes under and starting to straighten those legs and the hips up to the sky for downward facing dog. It's a great modification for Surya Namaskar A or Sun Salutation A. Looking up in between your hands, step, walk, or jump your feet up to meet your hands on your exhale. And inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, straight spine, come all the way up to standing, arms overhead. And then exhale, release your hands down by your sides. We'll flow through a full version of Surya Namaskar A, modified if you'd like. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant your hands and step back to a plank. This time you can keep your knees up. If you'd like, shifting your weight slightly forward so that you can bend your elbows directly back, holding that half lift if you can. Inhaling, pressing your hands and feet into the ground for an upward facing dog. Broadening through the chest here. Always know low cobra is an option. Holding here for one more inhale. And then exhale, shift your hips up and back, roll over the toes to downward facing dog. One big breath in here, open the mouth, let it go. Looking forward in between your hands. Step, walk, and float your hands, or your feet to meet your hands on the exhale. Inhale, half lift, fingertips to shins. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, reach. Arms up overhead as you come to standing. And exhale, hands through center and down by your sides. Floating through that one more time. Inhaling, arms up overhead. Exhaling, folding forward. Halfway lift on the inhale. And on the exhale, plant your hands. You can step back to a plank. Or if you're feeling good in chaturanga, you can jump back with bent elbows into your chaturanga. Inhaling up through your version of low cobra or upward facing dog. And then exhale through downward facing dog. Looking forward in between your hands and shift your weight into a plank pose. Holding plank here for a moment, knees up or down. Bending your elbows back into your chaturanga. Seeing if you can hover for just a moment. And then release your belly down to the ground. You can release your forehead to the ground or one cheek to the mat. As you reach your hands back and down away from your hips, alongside your torso here. You can keep your hands here, or if you'd like a little bit of a shoulder stretch, interlace your fingers at the top of your hips. Reaching the heels of your hands at your wrists area together. So keeping those wrists glued together and keeping a slight bend in your elbow at all times. See if you can engage through the lower body first, pressing the tops of your feet into the ground, pressing your hips into the ground, engaging through the belly, drawing the belly button up away from the ground. And then as you inhale here, inhaling your chest up and away from the ground, peeling your chest off the mat as you press your feet into the mat. Drawing those shoulders away from your ears, maybe lifting your fingers off your tailbone here. Maybe inhaling your legs up, full locust variation. Inhaling here, feeling hungry for grain. And then exhaling, release your body down, release your hands if they were interlaced, release your head to the ground, release all that work. And then setting your hands back onto the ground, palms of the hands on the ground, fingertips in line with the nipples, tucking the toes under, engaging through the legs. We're going to press directly up into plank. Beautiful. And then shift your hips up and back into downward facing dog. Looking forward in between your hands. Step, walk, or float your feet to meet your hands on your exhale. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come all the way up to standing, arms overhead. And then exhale, release your hands down by your sides. Setting up here for chair pose. Bring your toes to touch, heels slightly apart. You can always do this with feet, hips width distance, and knees in line with your toes. So whatever feels best for your knees. Sitting your hips back here like you're going to sit in a chair, but there's no chair. Reaching your arms out and up overhead here. Sitting low, but making sure the weight is in the heels. Maybe popping your toes off the mat, giving them a wiggle before sitting down into your pretend chair here. Breathing. And then on your next exhale, hinge your hips, straighten those legs, and fold forward. Inhaling for a half lift here. And then exhaling, flowing through your version of a chaturanga. Inhaling for your back bend, upward facing dog or low cobra. And then exhale, shifting your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Bringing that right knee into your chest, looking forward and stepping the right foot in between your hands. Releasing the left heel back down to the ground and turning those left toes in ever so slightly, lining up your front right heel with your back left arch and bending through that front right knee, stacking the knee over your ankle. And then we'll windmill our hands up, starting with the left hand, reaching our left hand up and overhead. That brings us all the way up, torso upright. For your warrior two position here, bending to make sure that your right knee is stacked over your right ankle, energetically wrapping that right thigh muscle underneath you, externally rotating that right leg here. Breathing. Standing up tall here, tall warrior. Turning the right palm up to the sky. Letting your left hand fall down to your back leg or wrap it around your back hip. And then reach that right arm up to the sky and maybe overhead, getting a nice side stretch here in your reverse warrior. Breathing, one more breath here. Turning your chest up to the sky. And then exhaling back through warrior two. We're going to come into side angle, turning that right palm up to the sky, bending at your elbow. Reach your elbow to meet your right knee. And then reach that left arm up to the sky, maybe up and overhead if your torso can still face upwards. Staying here or planting that right hand on the outer edge of your right foot. Wherever you are, breathe into it. And then inhaling, coming back up to warrior two position. Start to straighten that front right leg. As you shift your weight back into your left leg, we're going to bend the left knee and come into a half squat on the left side, squatting your butt down any amount and letting those right toes pop up off the mat. Breathing here, half squat, side lunge variation, getting a nice stretch through the inner right leg here. And then maybe planting your hands on the ground, straightening out both legs, making sure both feet are parallel with one another here. We're going to do a wide-legged forward fold, coming up to your fingertips and reaching long through your spine, torso parallel to the ground, inhaling with a long spine, slight bend in the knees just to prevent overextension as you hinge at your hips and fold forward, releasing your torso to the ground. Breathing here in your forward fold, you can start to walk your hands back. See if you can meet the heels of your hands in line with the heels of your feet. Maybe bending and straightening your legs a few times to ease into this hamstring stretch. Releasing your shoulders away from your ears or up towards your hips. One more breath here, big breath in. Slow exhale out. You can inhale, walking your feet back up towards your toes, coming up to a half lift. Bring your hands to your hips, and then inhale all the way up to standing. Turning our left toes out to the left by popping up on that heel and turning your entire left leg open to the left. Between warrior two on the left to the back of the room. Making sure that your left front foot heel is in line with your right back arch, and turn those toes in just 45 degrees. Bending in that front left knee now. Seeing if you can square your torso over to the right side of the room, reaching your hands out to a T, arms in line with your shoulders, and turn both palms up this time, releasing those shoulders away from your ears, and seeing if you can engage the lats, holding your arms up from the bottom instead of the top. And then release that right hand back to your right leg, or wrap it around your hip, back behind you, as you reach that left hand up to the sky, maybe overhead, as you let that lateral stretch come in through your left side. Reaching your head back towards that right foot. Breathing here in your reverse warrior. Seeing if you can spin the chest up to the sky. And then exhaling here. Inhaling, coming back through warrior two. Torso upright, arms out to a T. Seeing if you can stack that left knee over your left ankle, weight in the front left heel. Maybe bending your left elbow, bringing that elbow to the left thigh for side angle here. Reach that right arm up to the sky, maybe overhead, maybe arm in line with ear here. Staying here in your side angle, or reaching that left hand to the outer edge of your left foot. Engaging through that back right leg. Breathing here, spinning that chest open to the sky. One more breath here. And then inhaling back through warrior two. Torso upright, arms out to a T. And then start to straighten that left leg. Popping up on that left heel. Maybe spinning the right toes out slightly to come into your side squat on the right. Bending that right knee and sitting your hips down any amount. Popping those left toes up. Breathing here. And then planting your hands onto the ground, walking those hands back to center in the middle of your feet. And if you need to pop up on your heels to parallel your feet with one another, planting your hands into the ground, reaching your head away from your tailbone, finding a long spine here, slight bend in the knees, staying here, or maybe interlacing your hands back behind your hips, keeping the heels of your hands together, elbows slightly bent. Release your torso into that fold all the way down, reaching the top of your head to the ground if you can. Maybe reaching your arms, your hands up and away from your hips, keeping a slight bend in your elbows. Breathing here. Prasarita Padottanasana C variation. Wide-legged forward fold with the hands clasped behind your back. That's what that means. Big breath in, big belly breath in. Slow exhale out. Release your hands if they were clasped underneath you. And plant your hands underneath your face here. And start pressing yourself up halfway, your torso in line, parallel to the ground. Bring your hands to your hips, and then come all the way up through your standing. Pop those right toes up off the mat, and turn your entire right leg open to the right. And then circle your hands back down to the ground, framing that right foot, popping up onto those back toes and stepping back through a plank position. If you'd like to shift back to downward facing dog, your chance is now. Or flow through, bending the elbows back in line with your ribs, inhaling for your version of a back bend or upward facing dog. And then exhaling, shifting your hips up and back to your downward facing dog. Holding here for a few breaths. Looking forward at your hands, go ahead and bring your right knee into your chest, and then plant the right knee behind your right wrist, seeing if you can work on paralleling your shin to the front of your mat, engaging through that right foot, but it never has to be parallel. Go ahead and shift that left foot back all the way so you can lay the back leg on the ground straight away from the hip. So you can give it a little peek back there and make sure that your leg isn't falling out too far. It's right back behind your hip. We're setting up for a half pigeon here. Do any adjustments now, walking the foot away from your hip or tucking it in, finding whatever works for you. Sitting up tall, coming up to your fingertips. Be a proud, puffed up pigeon. Before exhaling and hinging forward over that right leg, walking your hands forward, maybe coming to your elbows, staying here for a nice hip opener, or walking your hands all the way out and bringing your forehead to the ground. Breathing here. Notice if anything is coming up or racing through your mind. See if you can come back to this hip stretch. Bring your attention into that right hip. Breathing here. Intentional full inhales, intentional slow exhales. And start to walk your hands back in towards your hips, coming back upright. Shift onto your right hip and swing that left leg around to stack your left shin on top of your right shin. Engaging and flexing through both feet, we're going to come into full pigeon, double pigeon. Flexing through both feet. If you can't make your shins stacked on top of each other, you can always sit in Sukhasana. Easy cross-legged position. Your knees and your heels never need to touch each other, but if they do, you can start to hinge forward. If they don't, stay where you are and just let your torso hinge slightly towards those legs. Breathing here. Maybe starting to walk those fingertips away from your shins. Slight fold here. At your hips. And inhaling, coming back up through center. Oh, we got a cat in the way. Okay. Coming upright, seated position here, releasing your left leg from on top of your right leg and reach it out straight in front of you. long in line with your mat, and bringing that right foot, sole of your right foot into your left thigh, and letting the knee fall away. Flexing through the front left leg, squaring your torso over this left leg, maybe turning your torso there, holding on to either side of your leg with your hands. As you inhale, reach your chest up to the sky. And as you exhale, trying to keep a long spine here as you shift forward into your forward fold here. Maybe grabbing hold of the foot. Maybe inhaling one more time to find length through your spine. And exhaling, drawing that belly button towards your spine to hinge forward. Rounding into this for one breath, releasing your head, releasing any effort. Big belly breath in, and a long breath out. Then bring your hands to the ground and start walking your hands slowly in towards your hips as you come up to a seated position. Bringing that left foot back in to meet your right into a normal cross-legged position. Shifting over those knees to come through a tabletop. Shifting your hips back, sitting back into child's pose. Before tucking your toes under and coming back to downward facing dog. One big belly breath in, downward facing dog. Slow exhale here. Look forward at your hands and start to bring your left knee into your chest. Plant the left knee behind your left wrist and maybe work that right foot out. Working towards parallel shin with the front edge of your mat. Never needs to get there. And then start working your left foot back behind you, seeing if you can plant the entire top of that right leg back behind you. You can take a peek back there to make sure it's in line with your hip. Sitting up tall here under your fingertips for your half pigeon. Maybe walking the left foot out in front of you to make your shin more parallel if you need more, or tucking that left heel in towards your right hip if you need less. Finding what's right for you and sitting up tall, puffing your chest forward. Be a proud pigeon. Maybe coo, like a little pigeon. And then as you exhale, start to hinge at your hips and fold forward over that left leg any amount. Maybe coming to your elbows. Maybe walking your hands all the way out, bringing your forehead to the ground. And breathing here. There's always one side that might be a little bit less comfortable than the other. Might feel like fidgeting, but see if you can just breathe into it. Intentional big belly breath in. Slow exhale. See if you can release the tension around your eyes. Unclenching your jaw. Easing into this stretch. One more big belly breath in. Intentional long breath out. Start walking your hands back in towards your hips. Maybe shifting your weight on the left hip and bringing that right leg around. Crossing your right shin over your left shin. Stacking the right ankle over the left knee and the right knee over the left ankle. Or just cross your legs at the shins, letting both feet fall to the ground. Double pigeon or Sukhasana, sitting up tall here. Engaging and flexing through both feet. Sitting up tall, one more big breath in, long spine. maybe hinging at your hips, and as you exhale, shifting your torso forward over your legs, maybe bringing your hands to the ground out in front of your feet and your legs, sitting up tall, and then folding forward. Inhale for a long spine, and exhale for a fold. One more breath here. And then reach that right. Come up, walk your hands back in towards your feet, coming up to a seated position. Reach that right leg long out in front of you. Keep the left foot in. And then glue that left sole of your foot to the inside of your right leg, engaging through that front long right leg out in front of you, and letting that left knee fall away from your torso. Grabbing your right thigh with both hands on either side of the thigh. See if you can turn your torso so that the center of your torso is over the center of your right leg, engaging through the leg here. And on your next exhale, hinge at your hips and fold forward over that leg. Any amount. Inhaling, bringing length through your spine, and exhaling, folding forward, bringing that belly button in towards your spine, engaging through the abdominals to get a deeper fold. Maybe bringing your hands to your feet, your hands to your right foot, folding forward. One more big breath in for a long spine. And then exhale, go ahead and release your head and round down into it. One more breath here. Exhale, let it go. And start walking your hands back in towards your hips as you come upright. Seated position here. Bend through the right knee to bring the soles of your feet together in your Baddha Konasana, as my hips crack and your hips crack. And here in Baddha Konasana, we're going to turn this into a supine Baddha Konasana. So however gracefully you'd like to come back down to your back, engaging through the abdominals to slowly roll down on your back, but keeping this position with your legs. Come all the way down to supine Baddha Konasana. And sitting and laying down are different. So if you need to shift your feet forward away from your hips or in towards your hips, go ahead and do that now. Find a comfortable position here. Bring your left hand to your belly and your right hand to your heart. And closing your eyes, take a big belly breath in, feeling both hands fill up. And then exhale, let it go. And the next exhale, open your mouth and let it go. So big belly breath in. Open the mouth, let it go. Keeping your hands there or bringing your hands down by your hips, down along your sides. If this feels good in your hips, you can stay in your supine Baddha Konasana, or if it's getting to be a little bit much, go ahead and straighten those legs out to come back to your normal Shavasana pose. Breathing here for a moment. Noticing if you feel a little bit more in touch with yourself. I'm just going to give you a little bit of pressure on the shoulders, if that's all right. Ease you into the ground. Tucking your shoulder blades back behind you. Giving yourself this stillness, this time to breathe. And whenever you're ready, you can start wiggling the fingers and the toes, hugging your knees into your chest, and then rolling over onto your favorite side, and then pressing yourself up into a seated position. Cross-legged Sukhasana position here. Closing the eyes, bringing your hands together at your heart center, rubbing your palms together. Thanking yourself to carve out this time to do some good yoga. And the light in me honors and respects the light in you. Or namaste. All right. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you, my beautiful models. As always, these virtual classes are donation-based, free if you can't afford anything. But if you'd like to donate, it's via Venmo at Ev Weezer. And 50% of the donations go on to a different charity each week. So let me know if you have any recommendations for next week or recommendations for different charities to donate to. And you can add it in the chat on the side or comment below, or you can visit my website and connect to me that way. I will post the link in the chat here. All right. And thanks again for tuning in. Have a great day.